Well, hello. We're going to go over Act 2 today. So I want to make sure that we have some time to do that. The first thing I want to talk about when we're talking about Act 2 is at this time, when we're looking at Elizabethan times, they had this idea of the great chain of being. And what it is that there is a hierarchy. So something on top all the way to the bottom of how things were meant to be. This hierarchy was at the top was God and it goes all the way to the bottom. So keep that in mind. The reason that's important is during these times they believed that everything was a certain order. Okay, and this order was the great chain of being that was threatened by new and exciting discoveries in science and astronomy. So this was being threatened, but this was still the belief in Elizabethan times. According to this idea, everything in the world had its position fixed by God. So you had the earth, center of the universe, then you had God who ruled over your archangels, your angels, and then you go down to your society, which is your kings, the religious affiliation, the nobles, kings, clergy, nobles, merchants, peasants. Okay, and then even the animals had in order. So keep that in mind. So you had this hierarchy, and with this hierarchy, if there was a break in the chain, then this would cause disorder. Anything outside the chain is considered to be just chaos, madness, evil, nothing good. Okay, so the implication then is once that chain is broken, then that can let chaos descend into the world. The world's broken, and we see this chaos. This is a video. It'd be good if you have a chance to watch it. He does a great job talking about the steps and how things look in this hierarchy. So this is on our Canvas page. So when we go now to Act 2, which is where we'll go, we start off now. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth they've agreed. They're going through with this. They're going to kill King Duncan. So we start this off, and we have Banquo and Fleance. It is important to note, if you haven't already, that Fleance is Banquo's son. So make sure that you're notating that. Fleance is Banquo's son. And they're talking to each other. Banquo is having a tough time sleeping. That's what this is talking about here. Hold, take my sword. There's husbandry in heaven. Their candles are out, so there's no stars in the sky. And he's not able to sleep. He's got a lot laying on him, and it's heavy. And so he wants to rest, but he's unable to right now. Banquo comes in, and as Banquo's talking, Macbeth comes in, and Macbeth's like, "Oh, I'm here. I'm a friend," and they talk. Banquo asks, and this is a good part here, "I dreamt last night of the three weird sisters. To you they have showed some truth." And Macbeth then lies to him, and he says, "I think not of them." Almost like, "Oh, what are you talking about? I really don't think of them." Well, of course he does. We know he does, because this is really what has led to them plotting to kill King Duncan. Okay. So he's lying. We know that he's lying. This is the dramatic irony there. As we see Banquo, being shown as this loyal subject, this good person. Remember, King James is believed to have been descended somewhere along the line from Banquo. So they want Banquo to be showcased in as good a light as you can. And that's what they do here. Shakespeare does here, showing him such a loyal person. Macbeth then has his famous Dagger Soliloquy. Remember, the soliloquy is a way which we get the innermost thoughts of a character. All right. So instead of somebody just thinking inside their head, now it's coming out to the audience, to everybody. Nobody else is on stage, just us. And this is where it can be staged in so many different ways. And he's asking, is this a dagger, which I see before me? So he sees this dagger. And this dagger is symbolic of this sort of choices that he has to make. What is he going to do? There's this dagger. All right. So he looks, can I clutch these? Can I hold these? This bold and underlined part, a dagger of the mind. Is it a false creation? Just a heat expressed brain, but it seems real, palpable. Okay. So he draws his own dagger just like this. Then, as he is looking at this dagger, he sees blood on the blade and gouts of blood just coming out, spurting out of the dagger. Okay, so he is really hallucinating. You can see probably the sense of guilt that, and he hasn't even committed the crime, but that he's going to do the crime is taking over him. He references Hecate, who is the Greek goddess of witchcraft, magic. Okay. And then he gets the signal from Lady Macbeth, which was ringing a bell. And he's like, I'm off to, kill Duncan. Is this a knell? Ooh, that should be knell, not bell. Yeah, I must have bell in my head. Knell that summons thee to heaven or hell. Since he's going to kill Duncan, Duncan will now know if he's going to heaven or hell. Lady Macbeth comes out is basically pretty much the same sort of, it's the same area, same scene. So she comes out and she's like, I feel emboldened by this. She has drugged them. They're just lying there, the guards. She makes the statement that had King Duncan not resembled her father as he slept, I'd had done it. So she says I would have killed them if he didn't resemble my dad. So there seems to be, this is finally a little bit of a crack. So you can put that in there, this idea that maybe she's not as ruthless as she has tried to be portraying herself. Okay. I mean, just a little bit earlier, she said she would kill her newborn babe if she had promised, but now she won't kill King Duncan, who resembled her father. So it's an interesting little bit of crack in her armor, possibly. Macbeth, I have done the deed. So Macbeth, right here, I have done the deed. He has killed King Duncan. All right, and he's telling her, I did it. All right, and now she knows. And he's looking at his hands, and through this whole thing, he still can't really believe what he has done, and that guilt is there. And he talks about the guards here, and then one of them, they were sort of like just out of it and mumbling things. And one of them says, God bless us. And, the response then, God bless us, amen. But he couldn't say it. Hence this idea of guilt here. I could not say amen. God bless us. And he's like, I can't believe I couldn't say it. It was stuck in my throat. Lady Macbeth says, we can't think of these. It will make us mad. Well, we'll see what happens coming on. But yes, she's like, we just got to forget about this. Now we have that motif, the motif of blood, the motif of sleep, the motif of changing in the clothes, wearing borrowed robes. False appearance comes in often. So sleep no more. Macbeth doth murder sleep is what he hears. Sleep which everybody needs. Okay, we need it to nourish our soul. If we don't get enough sleep, I mean, what happens when you don't get enough sleep, how you start to act. Okay, whether it gets cranky, whether you start, not feeling well, and you can tell you're not ready. You're not, don't have your wits about you. So, Lady Macbeth's like, what? In Macbeth again, so he has seen a dagger that isn't really there, and now he's hearing voices saying, sleep no more, Macbeth shall sleep no more. This is not a good sign at all, mentally, right here, okay, that he is saying this. And Lady Macbeth says, go get some water, wash these filthy witnesses from your hands. So this is here saying basically wash that blood from your hand. He says blood on them. That's not a good look. And then she's like, well, wait, why did you bring these daggers here? They need to be with the grooms, with the guards. Otherwise, there goes their plan. Macbeth's like, I can't do this. I can't look at it. I don't want to know what I've done. I don't even want to go there. So Lady Macbeth's like, just give them to me. They're just faces. Children would be scared of them, but I'm not a child. I'm an adult. Give me these. They're just pictures. All right. So, and then she goes, places the daggers there. Macbeth, I think is his hands are covered in blood, and he's like, will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? No, this my hand will rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red. So this idea the blood is going to stain everything. That the great Neptune, god of the ocean, would try to wash him off, and it wouldn't work. It would actually turn the water red with blood. Okay. Lady Macbeth comes out, and she also seems a little this idea that her hands are also blood red from smearing the blood on the guards. And you get some more guilt, a little bit of semblance of guilt here. Okay, my hands are the color are of your color, but I shame to wear a heart so white. Okay, so she realizes, like she's starting to realize this is, what she has done. They have done. So they leave. They have to get out there, and Macbeth, was the last words: "Wake Duncan with thy knocking. I would thou couldst." So he wishes he could wake Duncan with knocking. You had the porter scene. A lot of times after tense moments, you'll get scenes that are meant to provide some sort of levity and comedic relief. And the porter here is what he is doing. He imagines he's a porter in hell and goes about some different people and professions who are going into hell, like a farmer, an equivocator, someone who could never really make a decision or give a direct answer, and then a tailor. So he gives all these. He most likely is played, and you can tell later on he's sort of had a long night, been imbibing in different things, and he now ends with that. I pray you remember the porter. Almost like a direct breaking the wall and out to the audience. So remember the porter. Macduff comes and the porter talks about different things about drink and what it can cause you to do, and that he had been carousing all night. And then you have Macbeth comes in, and Macduff is there to get the king. They apparently have some sort of plan. We got to go. And Lennox starts talking about how the night has been really odd and weird. And there's, it just seems like, almost this idea, as you say, they were talking about the great chain of being, that when there's something happens to that chain, all of a sudden chaos can be let in. Well, this is sort of hinting that chaos has been let in. Okay, there's a feverish shake. There's a bird that shouldn't even be around here. Some like obscure bird is around here. Screams of death are happening. So a lot of strange things. Macbeth's just like, yeah, it was a rough night. I'm ready to move on. And then, of course, we have Macduff. He's found the king's body. He's upset. And, he says, approach the chamber and destroy your sight with a new Gorgon. Hence this idea of Medusa, remember, with the snakes, it'll turn you to stone. And it is such a horrible sight. Okay, so it's a good illusion there. And Macduff goes to wake everybody, get everybody stirred up. And Lady Macbeth's like, what are you doing? Why are you waking me up? Speak, speak, speak. And here's the irony here. He's like, oh, gentle lady. And we know she's not very gentle in what she has planned. If I tell you what has happened, you wouldn't be able, because, I do to a woman's ear, you wouldn't be able to take this. We all know that she can. So there's the irony in that statement there. And then you have Banquo. He couldn't, Lady Macbeth's like, oh, the king was killed in our house. I can't believe that. And Banquo's like, oh, it'd be cruel no matter where he was killed. We love the king. So I can't believe it. It's too cruel anywhere. All right. Macbeth comes out and he's like, oh, I wish I had never seen this hour. This is such a horrible thing to have happened. And Malcolm and Donalbain, remember, those are King Duncan's son. Malcolm is the prince, now second in line, should be. Okay, they come and they hear, Macbeth is basically that metaphor. The fountain of your blood is stopped, so your father's dead. Your royal father's murdered. An interesting response by Malcolm is not like, oh no, I can't believe Dad's dead. It's, oh, by whom? Which is interesting. But anyway, so they talk about how the guards did it, and then Macbeth says why he says, oh, yet I do repent me of my fury that I did kill them. So Macbeth tells him that he has killed the guards. And Macduff is a little bit taken aback by this. Like, why would you do that? Shouldn't we should be questioning them or seeing why they did it? Maybe there's, something else afoul or afoot from whether it's another kingdom or paid assassins, who knows, paid assassins, whatever it could be. Macbeth just says, oh, it was I couldn't believe it. Such a wonderful person as Duncan was killed by these people, these horrible people. I couldn't stop myself. I had to kill them. And then Lady Macbeth starts thinking, he's talking a lot. Well, I need to divert some attention here and help me hence. Ho! So she pretends to faint. And then they're like, okay, let's look to the lady. Malcolm and Donald Bane are sort of talking to themselves here, these asides. That's where the asides are good, when you have two people talking that no one else on stage is acknowledging this, but we know what they're talking about. And they're like, you know what, let's just sort of hold our tongues, sit back, and then we're going to talk together, just you and I. And Bank was like, all right, you know what, let's look to the lady, let's get out and and when we have our naked frailties hit, so we're right now we're not of ourselves. Let's go back, gather ourselves up again, and we'll meet again, okay, and see what's going on. This treasonous malice. So they leave. Malcolm and Donald Bain are like, I think we better move on. So Malcolm's like, I'm going to go to England. Donald Bain's like, I'm going to go to Ireland. And this idea of appearance realities, there's daggers in men's smiles. That's a wonderful metaphor. The idea someone was smiling right at Duncan, and in the back of their mind, they're thinking, I'm going to kill them. I'm going to kill him. So that's what Donald Bain is saying here. I don't know what the intent of anybody is here. We need to leave. And that's what Malcolm and Donald Bain do. They leave. Now, with leaving, that also makes you seem a little bit guilty. Like, why would you leave? If you weren't guilty, you would stay. So then it's a little bit later, and we have outside Macbeth's castle, and some weird things are happening here. Okay, and this old man, who's 70, who's 70 years old, says this is the weirdest things I've ever seen. And Ross is talking here, and he says, by the clock 'tis day, and yet dark night strangles the traveling lamp. This is this is one of the first strange things that's happening. It's supposed to be daylight out, but it's dark. Okay, so say it's noon, and it should be some daylight, but it's just dark as night. Okay. It's over everything. Hence, now again, this chaos has been let in. The king has been unnaturally killed. And he didn't die a natural death. He's been murdered. So now chaos is in. So it's dark when it should be light. The next thing they talk about is how a falcon towering over in her pride of place was killed by a mousing hawk. So a mousing owl, I'm sorry. Which killed it. So this smaller owl kills a falcon, which shouldn't happen. And the final sort of really odd thing is that Duncan's horses, they're these, beauteous and swift horses, these great horses. Well, they start going crazy and break their stalls. And then the old man says, "'Tis said they eat each other. They did so, to the amazement of mine eyes that looked upon it." So Ross sees these horses eating each other. They have eaten each other. So crazy things are happening. Unnatural things are happening because King Duncan is dead. And then here's Macduff, and we find that Macbeth is off now. He is going to become king. Malcolm and Donald Bain look guilty because they ran away. Their suspicion is that they did it. And Duncan's body is going to be buried where all the other predecessors, the other former kings. And they're just not sure what's going to happen. And again, we have this idea of clothes not fitting or not as something wrong, not the way it seems, lest our old robes sit easier than our new robes. And finally, that which make good of bad and friends of foes goes back to that earlier idea with the witches. What's fair is foul and foul is fair. So what's good is bad, and also friends are now foes. So we don't know what anything is what it seems. So that's where we are with Act 2. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask an email, let me know. Be happy to help you out. Okay? Thank you very much.